Welcome to the B-Side Brands podcast.
We're here to talk about branding and marketing and whatever else happens, I guess.
Feeling good. Yeah, feeling
Yeah, not so sure about the sanity.
How do you define brand?
vicious dominatrix. And I don't know.
Just four dudes who like playing music.
Here's my logo. It's that emotional attachment, that gut reaction.
Culture drives brand.
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 Brand. Brand.
Brand. Brand.
Brand.
Brand.
Brand.
Brand.
Brand.
Welcome back to the B-Side Brands. Brody Jackson, local radio host and celebrity here in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Thanks so much for being on the show, man.
It's great to be here, man. Any excuse to get back to Silver Heights, I'll take it.
There you go. I was going to say thanks for setting us all up. Thanks for Tony over there, wherever he is, for letting us take over his space for a little while. So we're going to get some nice background ambiance.
Yeah.
It's perfect for the vibe. It's all good.
Maybe we'll hear the popcorn popping here in the background. You can't come to Silver Heights without getting a bowl of popcorn.
I kind of want that popcorn.
No, it's bad for a podcast, man. It doesn't work on the microphones. You don't want to be cracking the popcorn out. You can't. I'm not sure if everyone's aware that Justin's got a camera going here right now, and I'll be picking popcorn out of my teeth at some point.
I should have brought the floss.
Yeah.
That's what I should have got. I pull your mic back just a little bit there. All right, man. Summer been treating you good?
Summer's been great, man.
I saw you got some vacation days in there, eh?
Yeah, I got a couple
Much
days
needed.
to get out and go camping in 38-degree heat with my son in a yurt. That was great. You know what I found out, though? So I've never done the yurt experience before. And, you know, as somebody who loves getting outside and getting outdoors, but it's to make a long story short, my wife suffers from vertigo. So she can't actually go in campers. So we've never been able to be the camping family. So when we go places, we tent.
Yeah.
But it was just me and my kid. And I'm like, okay, if me and my boy are going out, it's just 2.5-year-old, let's go and check out a yurt. I've never done one before.
Yeah.
So I did a yurt, but the funny thing was, up in Nunavik, there was nobody else there. No one else camping because it was hot, right? So we were the two that were up there. Well, I walked by one other yurt, and there was one guy who got out of this yurt. And I look at him and I go, how was your sleep last night? Pretty hot? And he's like, no, man, I read the reviews. I brought an air conditioner.
Brought an AC to a yurt?
Brought his own AC.
That's my form of camping right there. That's the way I do it.
So every time I'm in a store now, I'm like, temporary AC. Maybe I'll get one of those things. So yeah.
That's amazing.
It was awesome, man. It was a great little break and had an opportunity to go fishing with the family. So it was awesome.
Yeah, I saw you did like the father-son fishing trip too. That's amazing.
It was a father-son week. I did the first couple of days with my son, and then I took off with my dad and my brother, and we went up in Lake of the Prairies. So it was awesome.
Yeah, and I saw you announce that you have number 2 on the way. Hey?
Another baby coming.
It's going to be exhausting.
Yeah, the due date is September 21st, which I'm jacked about.
Yeah.
And my wife is not excited about it because the minute they said, Doc's like, yeah, I think September 21st. I'm like, oh, do you remember? The 21st of September. She's like, no. She's like, I'm going to be pushing and you're going to be going, body, yeah.
That's what you want in the delivery room right there.
She's like, not the 21st. We got to pick another day.
That's awesome, man. Congratulations.
Jacked. Thank you so much,
awesome.
man. Yeah.
Well, it's important coming from a parent of 2. I have to say it's important getting those like one-on-one bonding trip done with the oldest.
Yeah.
You realize how quick time goes and how much of your other life is consumed by another child. It's nuts, man.
Well, and it's just like if you don't forget about each stage because you embrace each stage that the kids are going through, right? But each stage is special in their own way. And that was one of the things that I was taught from when we had Luca, our first, was everyone's like, embrace every moment and don't try not to miss the previous moments because you'll forget about the moment that you're currently in.
Exactly.
And I think that's exactly it. It's important to get out and have these trips. We're going to have them every year, you know, me and my boy, and then whatever is coming next.
Yeah.
You know, me and that kid, we'll have the same
Are
thing.
you guys going to be finding out the gender?
No, last surprise of our life.
Yeah.
Last surprise of our life. That's what we're going with. Yeah. Right afterwards, I'm going to see Dr. Jay Buenafe. I joked with my wife. I
saw him already.
Great guy, right? Yeah. So you talk about how advertising works. And I was like, I think by now he's probably got a drive-through set up the way.
Yeah. He's got this down to a science, man. In and out. It's like the world's fast 10-minute oil change. He does it even quicker.
That's awesome. Well, great. Cool. I hope I get free mud flaps out of her or something. But I know that even when we were going through the whole process of, talking about, when it does get to that time. So I just said, I'm like, why don't we do it on the same day that the baby, like you be in your room, you're delivering the baby. Yeah. I'll be in the other room getting taken care of.
Yeah. 2 birds, man. 2 birds. Right on. Well, let's go back to the Killarney boy.
Yeah.
Growing up in small town Manitoba. What, after you graduated high school, what sort of career path did you have in mind? Like, where did you want to go after high school?
Well, I always wanted to be, it's in high school, all thanks to one teacher, Wendy Whitting. She was my drama teacher, and she wanted me to get into drama and musicals. And I was like, I really wanted to do them, but I had stage fright, man, which is kind of surprising that you think of me like that, right? And this is how important teachers are in your world, because she's like, every time that I went to audition, I'm like, I can't do it. Finally, her assistant ended up picking me up over his shoulder and said, "You're auditioning, let's go. This is something you want to do, let's try it." So I got in that audition room, I sang "Oh Canada," and that ended up getting me into my first ever musical. So I was just the backup part, in the chorus and stuff, but I fell in love with it, like immediately. I was like, this is amazing. So, I did the athletic stuff. I played hockey, I played volleyball, I played badminton, but my passion was being on that stage and entertaining people and making them smile. And my dad has the loudest laugh in the entire world. This is where I get it from. And hearing him laugh in the audience, that's like that family support that you have. I'm like, I want to do this more.
Yeah.
So I got into acting from there. I started going to Panache acting classes here in the city. We would drive every Wednesday. One of the girls I went to high school with, she would come in as well. And we would do these, 16, 17 years old, booking it into Winnipeg, 2.5 hours on a Wednesday night, do the class, drive all the way home. And it was just this passion that I had for being on stage. So I wanted to do afterwards, after high school, I'm like, my goal is to get into acting.
Yeah.
So I went to the University of Manitoba and I tried out with the theater program. The problem was I met a guy who is very similar to what I call Van Wilder. And me being a social man, if you remember that movie, I had the best time in University of Manitoba. I did not see any classes. Not in classes. I had the best time and forged some great friendships. But through that, I was like, theater might not be what I want to do. Maybe I want to do television and film. So 3 months into University of Manitoba, I said, no, I'm done. I burnt all my scholarship money already. I'm out of here. I'm going to go out to the West Coast. And my family was really supportive about it. Chased the dream of being a TV actor and tried out. And so I went out there, and then next thing you know, I was in Vancouver for 10 years.
Wow.
And the acting career went about as good as me being in radio in Winnipeg now. But it led to so many different things and so many opportunities to meet really cool people, because in order to survive in the entertainment industry, you need dollars coming in. So I was a bartender.
Okay,
I
in
had
Vancouver.
and I had one really, really good year where I was like, I think I can hang them up. I'm booking enough commercials. I'm getting some movies here and there. So maybe I can stop. But I opted not to. And then I got in a big battle with my agent at the time.
Fun.
And through that, it was kind of on the... Vancouver was such a hot spot for television and film for a long time, but it was on the kind of the cusp of when Arnie got into power in California, and so they kind of dropped a lot of, basically anything tax related, or it made it more feasible for those movies and films and TV shows that were being shot in Vancouver could be shot in California again.
Interesting.
So they lost a lot of business. So, the industry itself in Vancouver was kind of dwindling. And as a, guy fighting tooth and nail with trying to get parts, trying to get auditions, knowing now all of the casting agents because you've been involved, not getting casted repeatedly. It's an industry that you really have to be strong with.
Yeah.
And I just got to a point that I was so frustrated, and my agent was frustrated. We got into a battle. I was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm done with acting. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I'm like, I don't want to be a 40-year-old bartender. So what am I going to do? And one of my regulars at the bar, his name was Joe Leary, and he worked, and that might be confusing for many Manitobans because there was another broadcaster from Manitoba named Joe Leary. This guy's from Vancouver, and he did the morning show on C-Fun, which is an AM station on Vancouver.
Okay.
It's like, bro, why don't you just come and hang out with me for a morning, see what I do? It's like, all right, sounds good. I went in there that morning and I walked out of that studio and said, that's what I'm going to do.
Really?
I'm going to do radio.
That fast, eh?
Next day, I contacted Columbia Academy and I enrolled immediately into the broadcasting program through Columbia Academy, and that's how I got into radio.
That's amazing.
Oh.
How many years ago was that?
That would have been back in 2010. I graduated because I graduated right before the Olympics.
Really?
And that was my last stint in Vancouver. I bartended 3 different places during the Olympics.
That must have been a wild time.
It was amazing.
Jeez.
And I actually had a chance to take in some of the Olympic games, but overall it was just, it was a cool experience because it gave me that chance to the acting gave me the idea that I could kind of play any role or any character.
Yeah.
And I could, but it also, and then the bartending side of it gave me that ability to talk to anybody at any point in time.
Yeah.
There's no shyness with me whatsoever.
Yeah, no, not at all.
But that's all, again, thanks to Wendy winning, my teacher, and then thanks to the bar industry and,
Amazing.
good people at the University of Manitoba. Like, in all honesty, it's like all of these people, this collective group of people throughout my life pushed me onto this path that I'm at today.
Yeah. So did you have an on-air job in Vancouver?
No. I worked for CTN, which is Canadian Traffic Network, in Vancouver during the Olympics. That was a gong show.
Oh, really?
Just because it was just traffic updates. I'd have to drive from Vancouver all the way down to way past Richmond in the Tsawwassen area, do the CTN traffic, drive back downtown, head to, either at that point in time, it was either Relish or the Keg in Yaletown that I was working at. And I would have to do a bar gig, wake up the next day, do the exact same thing, and all the while still actually going to school until I graduated.
Jesus. So you're used to the long nights, is what you're saying?
Yeah, man. I'm used to late nights, but it's funny because, like then I was like the late night guy, partying till early in the morning, hitting the Roxy up at 3 o'clock, getting home at 6 o'clock in the morning. Now I'm getting up at 3 o'clock. It's like how the tables have turned.
Oh my goodness. So what brought you back to Manitoba?
My goal when I got into radio is I always wanted to work back at home. I was like, if I can do what I love to do with my family around, I'm in. I had been 10 years in Vancouver and I loved it there. I have the best friends a guy could ever ask for. They were my family out there. And that's why I urge everybody to get into the restaurant industry at some point in time in your life. You'll have friends that you'll never ever lose getting into it. But it was the idea of being able to go back home, go to Manitoba, and live a successful life in Manitoba, doing what I like to do. And so when I graduated, one of the projects I had at Columbia Academy was to do a station study. So I had to go and do a scope of an entire station and do a presentation about the station. Well, I decided KX96 from Brandon.
Yeah.
That was a rock station back then, now known as Bounce Radio.
That's right.
In Brandon. And I was like, I'm going to do it on this place. Frank McGuire's been doing the mornings forever, so I'm going to do this case study. You know what, I'm going to use it as an excuse to go home. So I actually came home and did the study with Frank in the studio. And he said, I like you, Brody. At one point in time, I'm going to let you know when there's an opening here and maybe you can come work.
Amazing.
Afternoon drive spot opened up and I applied for it. And it's a pretty crazy story. But I had applied for the gig and it was on the Wednesday. I applied for the job. On the Thursday, I got a phone call from my mom saying my grandma was about to pass away.
Oh, no.
So I packed everything up and out I flew on the Thursday. On the Friday and Saturday, I spent with my grandma, and she passed away. Our whole family together.
I'm sorry.
And no, it's the way of life, right?
Yeah.
When our family's very close, so it was great because we were all able to be together, to say goodbye to her. And one of the things that I said to her was like, Grandma, I promise you, I'm going to move back home. Something's going to happen. I'm going to move back to Manitoba and I'll be with Grandpa, And she said, okay, that's great. I'm like, is there any advice you'd like to give? She's like, yes. Don't ever forget to stop and smell the roses, which is why I have roses tattooed on my arm. And so after she had passed, it was about 2 hours later, I got a phone call from Frank McGuire while I'm in Brandon.
Really?
And he said, I sent off your audition tape to the PD. I think it might be a little bit too risky in some of the stuff that you're talking about. Would you mind coming into the studio recording another cut of your demo and we can send that off to her because I think that you should get this job. I said, Frank, I'm actually in Brandon right now. My grandma just passed away. He's like, I'm so sorry. Well, would you want to come into the studio and cut the demo with me? Sure. So I went in on the Monday, cut the demo with him, flew back on the Tuesday morning. I have a connecting flight in Calgary, and I have a phone call from the program director saying, you got the job.
Oh, my goodness.
So hindsight,
like it was meant to be.
Exactly, right?
Jeez.
And you talk about things that are fate related.
Yeah.
I mean, I lost my grandma, but my grandma brought me closer to my grandfather and brought me home.
Yeah.
That's
an incredible story. So, you're starting out, you're on air for the first time. How much work did you put into like defining your style and your personality and the things you'd talk about on the radio?
At that point in time, I didn't really know, even now I look back on it then, it was more along the lines of, I'm just going to be me. I'm just going to be a fun-loving prairie boy that moved to the city, that came back to the prairies. Let's have some fun. I'm in rock radio. Let's ride the pine a little bit and have some fun with it.
Yeah.
And it was really more along the lines of just being me and being who I was. I didn't really know about the other side of radio because I was so new to it.
Yeah.
Like I'd taken a 10-month course and you know, all about on-air development, nothing really about character development or, you know, building a brand per se. And so I knew about how to do on-air, and this is about getting some hours on air. And it was 9 months with KX96. We had the same owners, Astral Media at the time, and the same as QX104 here in Winnipeg. And they'd asked me from QX104, said, how come you haven't applied for the afternoon job yet? And I said, well, I'm not a country guy.
I don't like country,
so I'll pass.
I don't think anyone would have guessed that about you.
Right? And I said, no, I'll pass. I'm not a country guy. I'll pass. Thank you, though. And then my boss said to me, she's like, oh, that's funny and cute. You don't have a choice. You're moving to Winnipeg. We're transferring. I was like, all right, I guess here we go. And I mean, your goal in radio is to move up.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'll just use this as an opportunity to get back into rock radio, and I can do it in Winnipeg at some point in time, right? That was what I was thinking. It took me 2 weeks that I fell in love with country music.
Yeah.
Like immediately.
And now what? It's been 12 years?
Yeah, it's been since 2011 since I've been working with QX104, and that's where I learned more about character brands and building brands, is when I got into the mornings, when there's a lot more on the line for a radio station, when your morning show pushes your audience towards the afternoon. Your morning show really needs to be strong. So I had a lot to learn. You know, you go to school and you learn there, but no, it's nothing. It's once you get on air and once you learn the aspects of creating a character, developing a show, building a rapport with your co-host or whoever that may be, that you really find out how you have to develop a lot more than just popping on a mic and saying, here we go. You know?
So what changed then in terms of your brand and your character from the time you first hit radio to now?
Nothing.
You're still your authentic self.
The brand of a character, so there's a brand of the personality, and then there's the character development of that personality. So my character has changed, but my brand hasn't changed. My brand is still the same guy that I always am. Community, family, compassion, empathy, and love. You know, and that's who I am. Everything's positive in my world. Ask my wife, she hates it. And then you go on to the other side of it, when you can have that brand, it's just about manufacturing, almost molding the things around that brand, and that's more of that character development where things change. So I went from being the young, single, party guy on QX104 who loved to go to country shows, but also loved to go out and do stuff for cancer care or whatever it may be, being that guy, to being the married guy with some kids, growing up with the community.
Your brand changed as your life changed.
Yes, exactly. That's more of a character development, because still, again, the brand is based on your values, and my values will never change. My values have built who I am and have been instilled in me from my parents since I was born. So that will always stay the same, but my character will change because my life changes over time, and you add things and you take away things and you learn things, and we all grow together. My character, the way that I look at it is, I'm like, my character is that of a country music listener. You know, somebody who does live around family, focuses on family, work hard, play hard, have a great old time. But the most important thing that you have in your world is your family, is your community, is those relationships you build, and how to keep them strong and benefit one another through those relationships.
All traits you think you got from growing up in small town Manitoba,
100%,
and that's sort of what sets you apart from everyone else you're hearing on the radio.
Well, I mean, I think the radio has come so far, because it used to be shticks. You know, and it used to be
the shock rock DJs and stuff like that.
Prank calls and those kind of things, and that was a big thing in the 80s and the 90s, but now it's changed to the fact that people want to hear real people, you know, genuine people on the radio. And I think that in our market, we have a lot of very talented broadcasters. I hope that we're able to get more. The media landscape is forever changing, that it's making it more and more difficult for younger people to grow their craft when they don't have the stomping grounds to do it, right?
For sure.
But I do think that there is something to be said about being real and being genuine and being authentic on radio. And I do really believe that we have a lot of those personalities here in this city. I can't speak badly about anybody, really.
No, not at all. And nor should you.
Fair enough.
It wouldn't be on brand. Come on. That's awesome. Yeah, and even your social media presence, like, you're really open. You show that sense of family where now strangers can probably come up to you and just kind of start talking about your life and your family. Is that ever weird? To have like someone, even like me, I'm messaging you on Instagram. We've never met, and we're just shooting shit. And it's like, do people come up to you on the street that you've never seen, never met, and they're asking how your son is, how your wife is?
Oh, absolutely. All the time. I mean, we're up in Nunavik. We went into a shop there, and they're like, hey, Brody, hey, so this is Luca. He's so great. I mean, it's almost become the point that my son is more recognizable than I am because of his massive ginger flow that he's got. But it really is like, and that's one of the things that you got to, be aware of is that my son is a person of his own, right? And then growing up, that's something that I'm going to have to also adapt to, is that I want to not only keep him protected, but let him know that he has his own identity, that he's not my son, per se. When you get into media or anything that does have that visible spotlight, you're going to have people who will connect with you and who will say, things to you in the public, but they're never negative, man. Like people say, we'll do that on social media, we'll do it online or whatever, but you never see that with people. So it's never something that makes me feel awkward. Sometimes it makes my wife feel awkward. When she's just like, somebody will come up to her and say, oh, hey, you're 5 months pregnant. She'll be like, well, that's weird.
Who are you?
Yeah, exactly. Or, she'll be at work and somebody comes up and says, I heard that you had a great water balloon fight the other day. And she's like, how do you, oh yeah, wait a second. Yeah, that's right. That part is a little bit weird for her, but for me, I think it's great because I want to be approachable.
Yeah.
I want people to be able to come up and talk to me. I grew up in a community that was community, a neighborhood that hung out and spent time with each other, that nobody sat in their backyards. Everyone sat in their front porch, and I want to live that kind of life and raise my kid in that kind of life where you can talk to people face to face and not hide behind a phone or a computer.
Yeah. It's that warmth where you sort of view everyone as family.
Totally.
Extended family.
Totally.
Yeah. I love that. And you use social as your marketing platform. Like you use it to show who you actually are. Your brand.
Yeah. I mean, I live in my head and in my mind spaces that I don't think I would ever use social media if I didn't have this job. I even remember when social media was becoming a thing. I'm like, I don't like this.
Yeah, I'm staying away from it.
It's not my thing. It's not my cup of tea. But it really is for me. It is about building that brand and building the listenership and bringing our listeners into our world and then letting them share their world with us. Like all of our worlds are so relatable in so many ways and I also think it's important for people who go on social media. You see so many positives all the time. It's almost like you see like the positives, the highest of highs, and then the lowest of lows.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
But there's some way in the middle that I try and live, where it's like, okay, here's a community post today. This is what I'm going to be doing out in the community. Come and join the cause. Come and support the cause. Well, now here's a picture of my son. He's having a great time at the park. And now here, let's talk about what happened in Dauphin. And then, are you okay? And can you talk about the things that have just happened? And are you doing, emotionally fine? Like, covering all those grounds rather than just living either the happy life on social media,
right,
or like that really dark place that a lot of people go on social.
Find the middle ground where a lot of us live.
Totally.
Yeah, I can relate to. Right on. Let's talk about the thing that everyone loves dwelling on now is COVID. Because I know that like really turned the radio industry sort of upside down. Well, every industry upside down. But like, so at the time, your co-host was Randy Parker, and she was working remote for a period of that time.
Yeah.
What was that like?
I was wild. I mean, especially like, first off, the fact that Randy would show up every single day on air, on time from her house was impressive enough. Randy's the best. It was different in the essence of like, we didn't see each other at all, right? Like you don't see each other in person.
Yeah.
So whenever we're talking on air, we use a lot of physical cues as to, I know that you're going to be, especially for interviews, right? I know that you got something coming up or you're going to say something and put your finger in the air. I'm ready to go. So it's the preparation to go on air.
Interesting.
It was a lot different than what you're used to, but we adjusted really well. The thing about Randy, she's very, very talented and very witty in the fact that she can come up with like anything on the spot like that. So actually, I lived a very easy life when I was working with her, because it was like I could set up content and know that she would have what we call in radio the out, which is basically going and leaving you wanting more, because that was really funny, and into the music we go. And she could pull one of those out of her behind in like 2 seconds.
Yeah, she was awesome.
She's a pro in that way, which, I mean, granted, gave her the opportunities that she has now, right? Yeah. But the COVID was a game changer. It was a game changer for every single industry. And the one thing that it did offer me up in the radio world was, I'm a very busy guy.
Yeah.
But because of the pandemic, there was really no outlet in the community other than being online. So I got a chance to spend every day with my kid.
Yeah.
And I would never have had that before. Like every day I would get off air at 10 o'clock. I'd have a couple meetings around the office, plan some stuff with maybe some artists through Instagram. and then home I would go and be with my family.
Yeah.
And it was every day. It was a challenging time, and a very challenging time for all of the businesses, obviously. But I think that everybody was able to take at least a bit of a positive out of it, and whether that was transforming your business into a way that is more easily accessible for your customers and your clients, or whether that was just having a little bit more downtime, or realizing what's important in your life isn't necessarily the work that you have in front of you, but rather the family that you have at home.
100%. Yeah. And during that time, obviously, the world was just, I feel like everyone just drew a line in the sand and picked a side of things to argue about. And in the radio industry, you have to report on the news, and the news is only that, right? How was it like for you to get in that mindset, talking about things you know they're going to make 50% of the population angry, to just be able to keep that positive attitude on the radio and still be that place for people to escape and find entertainment on? Like, was that difficult?
You hit the right wording. It was a place to escape. So that was my therapy, was going in and doing on air. Because if you went onto socials, if you looked at seeing what was going on in the world and people fighting every single day, you couldn't help but go to a negative spot.
Exactly.
So my goal was to get in there, crank the microphone, and get you away from that in every which way. Our ratings were incredible during the pandemic. And we attribute that to the fact that we wanted to provide that escape. We're entertainment. So everybody in media is different, but we're entertainment. So if somebody was to get upset because, they were anti-vaccine and we informed them about the vaccines, we would basically come off and say, this is our job to inform you. But your opinion is your opinion, and I'm not going to push those opinions on you. Will I tell you that I am vaccinated? Yes, I will, because I have no shame in that, and that's what I believe to do. And I'll inform you of that, but I'm not going to go and push that on you.
Yeah.
That's your decision that you're going to make. And so in leading in that entire time, we would cover COVID during the news. Outside of that, nothing. We wouldn't touch it. We wouldn't get into it. We wouldn't talk about masks. We wouldn't talk about the vaccine,
because people just didn't need to hear it anymore. They're looking for that
Excuse
escape.
me. Yes, exactly. And that's what we wanted to give. It was, you were inundated with it. No matter where you went, no matter what place you went to try to get to, no matter whether it was immunization cards or whatever it was, you were inundated with it.
Yeah.
I was going to give you that escape. Therefore, it was an escape for myself and an escape for, at the time, Randy as well.
Yeah.
Because we offered that opportunity, that 4 hours of our own therapy, and hopefully it can be for you as well.
Yeah.
Here's some music. Enjoy the music. Enjoy. Hopefully today you wake up alive. Let's think about that and focus on that rather than the battles that you're going to have with your next door neighbor who might be a conspiracy theorist, or the other next door neighbor who might be pushing things on you from another angle.
For sure.
It's about you today. Embrace life.
I mean, COVID really was the highest point of that, but you guys were doing that prior pandemic and now. Drive around these streets, it's not easy to do. I have road rage every single morning, and listening to you guys is always an escape when I'm having to not deal with construction and all that kind of stuff. Just shut the brain off. Don't deal with this.
Well, and that's, I don't get into anything negative on air. I don't get into things that are polarizing. I'd rather not do a polarizing in your relationship and in your family and at home, fun stuff, light stuff for sure, or things that are meaningful and might impact you in a good way, but never anything that will lay on you and weigh you down. I don't want to do that in the morning, man. You got a long day ahead of you. I want you to enjoy your drive here this morning. I'll give you something that you can take to work with you for the day, give you a reason to smile. That's the goal. Yeah, absolutely. So 12 years at QX104, you've had 4 hosts, 4 co-hosts. Yeah. So which one's your favorite? No, I'm just kidding. Don't answer that. Don't answer that. Carly. There's Carly's there right now. Carly. Is she listening to this? Is this live? I hope so. You become like the seasoned vet sort of in the industry. When you were coming up, like you had your own mentors. Yes. Do you feel like with all these co-hosts that have come and gone, you've been the mentor for them to kind of coach them and bring them up in the industry? In a way, I've learned so much from each one of them as well, right? Like every co-host. So I've had Sam, Jess, Randy, and Carly now, right? Yeah. And so Sam was my mentor. I'd only done radio for just over a year before I got into mornings. Like it's not only unheard of, it's also scary. Yeah. And looking back to and thinking about it all, Sam I was able to lean on as a seasoned vet. She knew what to do. She knew how to operate a show. She was just a radio vet. Yeah. So I learned so much from her. And then Jess, it was this Jess had a unique way of looking at life that was like, she was basically a walking tweet, of just randomness, this unique ability to take an angle that you would never think of.
Yeah.
And so she had that on her. And
she was also a lot more quiet than you.
She was very quiet.
Definitely yin and yang when you guys were
and she's more of an introvert, right? But then you put on that mic and she's got kind of like this unique, like I said, this unique way of looking at life that was so brilliant and so special. And then you had, Randy just coming in, who's a complete wild card.
Yeah.
Like you never knew what you were going to get out of her. And then you got Carly now, who's more just this polished person who has the biggest heart of gold.
Yeah.
You're able to learn from each one of them while at the same time, they're able to learn from you. So yeah, I find myself as a mentor? Yes, but I'm also an apprentice still.
Yeah.
And in the radio world, the minute that you stop taking criticism or that you stop being coached, you're done. There's no point in doing it anymore.
Yeah.
Because it's an ever-changing landscape and you're always able to learn.
Yeah.
There's always more to learn. So the minute that you close that door, you're done.
Yeah.
In my mind. So I find that learning from your co-host, as much as I may have been in the industry or maybe doing mornings longer than Carly has, she also brings stuff to the table that I could never bring, that I can learn from her. And vice versa. So, my goal down the road at some point in time is I do want a talent coach.
Yeah.
Like that is, one of the day that I'm like, I can't get up at 4:00 in the morning, I'm done.
That's now for me.
That's not for me 4 or 5 days a week. But even when I get to that point, my goal is to talent coach. I do want to do that because there's so many special things about people and unique people that I want to help coach and bring to the public and bring to the spotlight with this changing landscape.
Yeah. So when Randy left to pursue an opportunity in Calgary, you had issued like sort of a statement to the QX Nation when that had happened, where you kind of addressed your future with the station, the future with the morning show. Can you talk about that and what made you kind of do that?
Yeah, I was frustrated with people.
Yeah.
It's... When Randy left, that was the hardest breakup that I had gone through. Losing Jess was very tough. Losing Sam was very tough. Randy is like a little sister to me, right? Like, and one of my best friends. So when we went through that entire process, it was hard because she had a hard time deciding whether she was going to do the job or not. She didn't know if she was going to do it. She was going back and forth quite often, and we had known for this goal. This was going on for a while, so we're talking about it. So imagine like being in a relationship where the other person's like, I don't know if this is working, and I don't know, but I kind of want to hold on for a little bit, but maybe it's not going. I might be leaving, and then they go, and that's really what it was going on. And then flip the switch and think of what she's going through at the same time too, right?
Yeah.
Like should I pick this up? This is a new adventure for me, something I've never done. It's a goal of mine, but do I want to leave my family? Do I want to leave an established #1 show? Do I want to leave all of this? So it was a hard decision for her to make, and then for me as a partner, it's also a hard decision for me to root for her, and at the same time
not want to lose her.
Want to lose her, right? So it was this tug of war battle. So this had been going on for 4 to 5 months, and behind the scenes of this happening, and then finally in the day that that we knew that she was going to go, it was an emotional moment for us all. But it was really like, okay, here's my little sister is growing up and get out of the nest, and she's so talented. I'm going to root for her. Now I want to root for her. But what was hard about it was that you get the people who are like, well, that's a lot of female co-hosts that Brody's gone through there. There's something got to be going on, right? Like,
really?
and I had people saying that comment tongue in cheek, so I just got frustrated with it. I was like, I'm going to come out here and state something. The hard part with media is that a lot of people never get a chance to say goodbye. You're just done on air. You're just done on air.
Right. Yeah.
And anybody who spent time with Randy and I, how close we were. It's not a surprise by any means to hear that we were that close of friends. But I wanted to paint that picture and be like, this is what's going on. And I don't think you all understand what happens in the industry. And the other thing is that like Jess and Sam, they both had opportunities in Calgary that they both took too. And there were both opportunities that were so well deserved by them that by sitting there, people saying, Brody, are you the problem? You're taking away what these women worked very, very hard to accomplish in their careers. So all of a sudden, you're thinking that you're painting the picture that I'm the problem, rather than celebrating and championing these very, very talented women that called Winnipeg their home. Let's continue to champion them and root for them along the way. And that's painting society with a broad brush in general. And that's the way that I looked at it and been like, this is a common thought process for many people. Why do we, when these women had these opportunities given to them because of their work ethic, their talent, and their dedication to the craft. Why are we not championing that? And why are we going, well, what must be the problem in a 177 Lombard at QX 104?
100%. Yeah. People just gravitate to that because they like the drama, right? And they like to find a victim or the villain in something.
Yes,
right?
yeah. And there was no drama aside from the part that we just didn't want to say goodbye to each other. That it was the longest, hardest goodbye that the two of us had gone through for a long time. We still text every 2 or 3, 4 days, right? Yeah. And it opened up an opportunity for Randy to go onto her own and develop her own show and do her own thing in a city that she always had a dream and goal of getting to.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I want to root for that. Let's root for her.
Yeah.
Let's not take anything away from her.
For sure.
And
she's doing great out there now.
And she is doing great out there now. And that's the other hard part. It's like anybody who listens to the station regularly on a regular basis would understand all of that. Mm-hmm. But when you live in a world of social media, you'll have people who never listen to the station who just know you from social media.
Yeah.
And so now they're just getting whatever visuals that they have and whatever ideas they want to pop into their own
That's
head.
right, yeah.
We all do it for everything. So that was another reason that I wanted to approach that on air too, is because, well, here are some other people who may not know and understand that this is what exactly is going on. Mm-hmm. But yeah, she's doing great out in Calgary, man. She's living a good life. Her and her boyfriend got a place out there.
Right
the
on.
dog's loving life. She's an outdoors cat. So she wanted to be in the mountains. She's in the mountains.
It was just after she left, I got a funny story where I was on a work trip to Calgary. I was driving to the airport in the morning, listening to you, got on a plane, landed in Calgary, got my rental car, found the first country station I could find, started driving, and there's Randy's voice. And I was like, oh, it's like old times. It just felt nice.
Did it sound hungover?
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
Because there's a chance. Was it a Monday morning? She's always rough in the Mondays. She's always a little bit slower going to the Mondays. No, she's doing great out there, and I know that, that it's the same company. That's the other thing, too, right? It's all Pattison Media.
Yeah.
So I know that she is doing, she's super happy out there, and things are just starting to get going for her and Justin, and I have no doubt in my mind that they're going to one day dominate that city.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Good for her.
Yeah.
But, you got Carly now. Carly's awesome, too, so you guys both ended up
and that was the thing. It was like, it's so funny because this has been going on for 4 years or 4 or 5 months with Randy, right? And in the background, I'm also looking for the next co-host.
For sure.
So it's like I had a
Do you have a say in that process?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Right on. So it's like having a live-in relationship while also having something going on the side where I'm trying to audition the next person. And so that was it was really weird. And the hard part is it's like moving from one relation to another relationship so quickly. You can't help but compare. And you have to turn that hat off. Mm-hmm. Because if anybody listens to this show now and you listen to Carly, she's a complete 180 from Randy.
Yeah, she's different, yeah.
She's entirely different. But when I've been working with Carly through the Winnipeg Jets, and I knew her through when she worked over at KISS. Yeah. I wanted somebody on that show who had the same ideas about community, about giving, who had a big heart. Mm-hmm. Again, Randy was so easy to get out in the community to do all that stuff. That's the only thing that I wanted similar.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what Carly has. Carly's got the biggest heart out there, and she's just beginning really in the industry. So as long as, what happens behind the scenes in radio that a lot of people aren't aware of is continuous coaching and continuous monitoring of your own show, how to improve your delivery, your communication with your co-host, the right content that you're bringing in. We go over this on a regular basis. The way that Carly has come from the beginning of our tenure to now, it's like night and day.
Yeah.
Like she's just getting going. I'm sitting here saying all this. All I keep thinking, I'm like, hopefully she doesn't go to Calgary in 3 years too. But if she does, I'll root for her if she does. But to tell you the truth, she won't. Winnipeg is her home, and she loves this city. And that was also important for me. Yeah. I wanted somebody from Manitoba, somebody from Winnipeg. I didn't want to look from outside the market. I wanted somebody who embraces Winnipeg as much as Carly really does.
Yeah, knows the city, is from the city.
Exactly. Yeah, loves it.
That's awesome. Talking about opportunities, and you touched on the Winnipeg Jets, being in the industry for as long as you have, you've opened some opportunities, some doors for you. Obviously, you're the in-game host at all the Winnipeg Jets home games.
Yeah.
We can talk about the NHL All-Star game in a second as well. But that doesn't just happen. That comes with hard work and marketing yourself, getting your name and brand out there.
Yeah.
Where's the most success you found in sort of getting your brand out there and marketing you?
Oh, man, that's a tough one because there's been so many different angles of where you can find that success. I think what has worked really well for me is just being as involved in the community as I possibly can be, and whether that be through the Winnipeg Jets, through QX 104, stuff that I do on my own. Mm-hmm. I think about getting in front of people and talking to people and meeting people I love being in a room with people that I don't know.
Yeah.
And I love walking up to people that I don't know. And I love to find out about you and what you're doing. And, I took a lot of that from Chrissy Troy. Ace was a mentor of mine, Ace and Chrissy. Ace brought the community.
The other two legends of Winnipeg Radio.
Exactly, right? Ace brought this mentality to me. It's like, work hard, get in the community, do what you can for everybody. And I love that mentality that he has. And that's one of the things that I want to embrace. And the thing about Chrissy is that she can remember anybody's name at any given time, what they did, where they're from. She remembers it all. She picks up on that. That's immediately what she does. And I took that away from meeting her as well. So I think that what's worked for my brand in the market, getting gigs like, through the Winnipeg Jets, is the ability to work hard and and with the smile on your face and do it for everybody else. Never for yourself, but do it for everybody else. Mm-hmm. It's like that reminder of like, I'm not the most important person in the room. 15,000 people are at the Jets game. I got to do this for you. How are you going to like me? And that goes for everything that we do, whether that's hosting a gala or, a Bud and Spud or standing up on a stage at Dolphins Country Fest. It's the idea of like, I'm doing this for you. Your first time at this game tonight, I can't mail it in. I got to commit to you, and I think that that's important, is that I've always had that work hard, play hard mentality, and everything comes with a smile on my face. If you're kind, if you're genuine, and you enjoy what you do, that really comes across so much better and gives you these other opportunities like the Jets.
For sure. Is that tough to do, though? I mean, where you have to put a smile on your face some days where you don't really feel like it?
No, because it's actually what does put a smile on my face.
Yeah, so you're having a bad day, that's what cheers you up?
Immediately.
Nice.
I'm not going to lie, there's times just like everybody else, it's just like, okay, I got to go to work.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Got to get to work. But the minute that you get there, it's like going to the gym. Oh, I got to go to the gym. I don't want to go to the gym.
That's right.
The difference is I go to work. But you get there, and then all of a sudden, it's like it turns on for you, right?
Yeah.
It's even there's sometimes at like Jets games where they're on like a 6-game homestand. You're in the 6th game, and you're like, oh my gosh, man, I've been working so much. Like, this is exhausting. But you get there, and then you see this 4-year-old fan running down the concourse going, Shifley scored. You're like, you're there. You're in. It's
magic.
like, there's so many special things. You get FOMO if you can't make it to a game or you can't make it to a shift, you get FOMO.
Yeah.
Because you're just like, I know that would have been a great time, even though I was sad about not, having to go. When the minute that you get there, it's just like, it's like a switch. You're a part of it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So NHL All-Star Skills Competition.
Yeah.
Tell me about that opportunity. First, tell me about how it started. Then we'll talk about how it ended.
Well, it's fun. So, I will throw out this one because I think it deserved to be said, is that I wouldn't have had that opportunity for the NHL All-Star Skills Competition if it wasn't for the production team of the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah.
Like, they're the ones who make me look good and make me sound good. It's all them, right? So I've been doing this gig for a long time with the Jets. What ended up happening was the Heritage Classic that we had here back at IG Field.
Yep.
That was the first time they ever had an in-game host for any of these events that they had through the Jets. And I had asked ahead of time, I'm like, my boss, Kyle Ballharry, I'm like, Kyle, like I want in for the Heritage Classic. I don't know if we're going to use a host. I'll let you know. He contacts the NHL officer like, hey, we love this idea. So on the Saturday, the Heritage Classic itself, not the NHL game, the alum game, was run by the Jets production team.
That's right.
So it was an amazing experience because I got a chance to hang out on the bench, talk to Timu, see Wayne Gretzky.
That's surreal.
It was unreal. I'm like, this is nuts. I'm like, 10-year-old me is going bananas right now. And so it was really, really cool, getting a chance as well to talk to Ducky. I mean, I'll never forget that moment. But then the next day, the Sunday, was run by the NHL team. So an entirely different show, an entirely different production. I was basically just had the earbuds in. You tell me what you need to do and I'll do it.
Okay.
So again, going into work with that mentality of an open mind, I am your employee. You tell me what to do. And as long as we're not crossing any boundaries, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Of course, they're not going to cross any boundaries. This is an international league. So they had me do a bunch of stuff. Afterwards, the guys said, they're like, Brody, you're awesome. We loved you. And it was one of the biggest compliments you can get from the NHL brass, saying that this was great. You did a great job. We want to work with you down the road. Cool. So I go home and I'm like, oh man, am I going to get a job with the NHL and like be like their in-game host and all these different things? I don't know what's going to happen. So I just left it be. Didn't hear anything back. But I'll always hold on to that. And then sure enough, I get a phone call right after the Jet Skills competition that we did here this year. And it's from my boss, Kyle. And he says, look, dude, NHL reached out to me. Would you be interested in being the in-game host for the NHL All-Star Skills competition? I'm like, huh? A what? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, dude, of course. Obviously, he's like, hey, he's the middleman. He's playing, with me and then talking to the NHL brass and deciding what they wanted to do. And they asked for an audition tape. So I sent them an audition tape. My wife films it in the basement. Here I am, you're nothing like yelling like, make some noise. And 9 o'clock at night in your basement. In my basement.
That's so wild.
Send out the audition tape. And then off to Mexico I went on the QX Nation vacation.
Yeah.
And I'm down there. I'm going, I have no idea what's going on. I have, rare service. Your Wi-Fi is the only thing that I can have on there.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I'm in Wi-Fi in one area and bloop, it's a message from the NHL and I got the job.
Oh my goodness.
So from that point in time, here I am on the QX trip going, we get back, honey, and I'm off to Miami. I hope that's okay. And she's and my biggest supporter in my entire world is my wife. And she's like, of course, this is amazing. Here we are celebrating. This is the biggest of highs. This is amazing. And it was all stemmed from the Jet Skills competition because the NHL brass saw me work in the skills competition.
Oh, gotcha.
And they're like, yeah, we want him. So I got the gig. And then next thing you know, I was doing all the paperwork, the legalities of how to get down there and everything like that, booking the trips, doing Zoom meetings about what was going to happen, what the events were, how to, word everything for the crowd, blah, blah, blah. We just missed one step.
Yeah.
And that was getting the proper visa.
Oh, that hurts.
So the unfortunate part was because all of this stuff was immediate, we only had 2 weeks to get everything processed, and that wasn't enough time to get an official working visa placed. So we had hoped that we could get a TN, which is basically your temporary working visa. Unfortunately, Customs didn't like the verbiage of the entire thing.
Oh, interesting.
And we tried everything that we could. I went into Customs, got walked out of Customs. They're like, no, you can't go. I'm like, oh, I got denied. This sucks. First time I've ever been denied about something. What am I going to do? Yeah. So I'm calling the brass it's not the NHL, it's the event planners that are putting this on. I'm talking to them. They're like, try this way. So then I go back in. The guy's like, nah, you're still not qualified, man. So out I go. And then I spent the entire day at the Toronto airport trying to get through.
Back and forth through customs.
And it didn't work. By the end of it, the last guy's like, Brody, look. You're not getting through. You're wasting our time. If you try one more time, you may not be coming into the United States again.
Oh, God. So
then I left and I was like, hey, called the NHL. I'm like, yeah, I think I'm out. And then I explained this to them. They're like, oh, gosh, yeah, okay. So I spent the day in the Toronto airport and flew back to Winnipeg.
Oh, that's rough.
We arrived at 1 o'clock in the morning and back home I went. So
well, hopefully the opportunity comes around again.
You hope so. It's in Toronto. I don't have to clear customs this time.
There you go.
Well, and then there's I've been in discussions with the league afterwards about just saying, here's the problem. And then just in case this happens for you again, this is what you need. These are the things that are required to make sure that you can get a Canadian to work on behalf of an American company in the U.S. It'd be different if I went on behalf of the Winnipeg Jets, but I was there representing the NHL.
Oh, gotcha.
And that's where the difference was. So it was a bummer, but at the same time, I was like, God, there's got to be a positive spin out of this somewhere. Yeah. There will be at one point in time down the road.
Point,
either way, it was awesome. It was a cool experience. And the Jets, they gave me a ton of recognition, which was unnecessary, but it was really cool to see them champion one of their own like that.
Yeah.
The NHL All-Star Game is about the players and their families. How much love they gave me was unexpected, in my eyes, undeserved. So that was really cool.
You're an unofficial player. That's what you are.
No, I'm not making any skills competition that way. Let me tell you that much.
That's awesome. Well, it's an unfortunate ending, but an amazing opportunity.
Yeah, and maybe there's something else down the road, or maybe it does bring up another opportunity down the road. But either way, it's a story that I get to tell for the rest of the time, and it's really fun going through customs now. Yeah, because that's on my rap right now. So every time I go through, they're like, so you got denied working in the U.S. Are you going to work in the U.S. again? I'm like, no, I'm just going to Hawaii for my family, man. That's it. Yeah.
Just the third degree every single time. Jesus. So clearly you're busy with all the hosting of every charitable gala that's going on, the NHL Jets games, these opportunities that pop up. How have your priorities changed since having a kid, now gonna be 2? Yeah. Have you sort of changed priorities? Have you had to turn down some opportunities because you're trying to keep that work-life balance?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that you do have to turn down. Even upcoming Dolphins Country Fest, right? Yeah. So I've been to every C-Fest since I've been at QX 104. This will be the first one that I'm missing. And that is so that I can spend the long weekend with my family, right? So you do have to pick and choose. I have a very understanding wife. And the good news was, I mean, what's beneficial to our relationship is that we've been together my entire tenure with QX 104 of like growing that morning show when we were, you know, one of the bottom ranked morning shows to now where we are now. Yeah. She's been with me that entire way, so she knows the amount of work that I put in to get to that place, and she's been supportive the entire time, that she'll never take that away from me now. So now it's more along the lines of I got to make my choices as to what I should and shouldn't do for my family.
For sure.
What I can and can't do. You know, there are certain events that I've just been like, no, I can't. Unfortunately, I can't do that. You know, there's certain causes that I will always say yes to, no matter what it's going to be. You know, if it's Make-A-Wish, if I can make a wish, you know, help make a kid's wish come true, I will be there for in every which way that I possibly can.
Yeah.
If it's Cancer Society, I'll get involved in every which way. If it's anything kid related, I'll pretty much be there. But if there's a way to incorporate my family as well, then that's an added bonus, right?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Our Slow Pitch tournament, which takes a ton of effort to put on, I'm able to bring my family out for the entire day. My family is able to interact with the artists and be there for that.
Yeah, that's
so
awesome.
It's also a family event too.
Yeah. So are you putting in like concrete rules around, you know, what you're accepting, what you're not accepting, times where you're available, times when you're not, to make sure that you're making that time for your family?
Not really.
No,
it's kind of a play by look at the schedule and see what's going on there when I get an ask.
Do this.
And that's pretty much it. You know, there's a like. Man, I'm on a slow pitch team. I haven't played slow pitch once this year.
Yeah.
You know, if there's anything sacrificing it, it's that I'm sacrificing now. It's just my own stuff.
Yeah.
And that's okay. You know, like for some people that would be very hard, and I completely get it, because we all deserve our own outlet and our own hobbies.
Yeah.
Right? But now my outlet and my hobby is my kid, and my job does provide that as well. I mean, I get to go to Jets games all the time. That's an outlet for myself too. I might not be able to have a beer like you can.
Yeah.
But I can be there and be part of the game. So really, if as long as you have that mindset that it's not going to work, it's going to enjoy your job.
For sure.
You don't really need those. So I've just kind of, slow pitch has kind of moved off to the side. I've golfed 2 rounds. You know, for a guy who grew up playing sports, I'm definitely not. You can tell on the camera if you're looking, I'm definitely not playing a lot of sports these days.
You mentioned Slow Pitch for a Wish. I really want to talk about that because I know that's coming up. You're talking a lot about it on air. Tell me about the whole event. How did it get started, and talk about this one that's coming up.
So when I worked in the bar industry out in Vancouver, the restaurant industries are always really, really close. Like we're hanging out at Silver Heights. I guarantee a whole bunch of people from here are friends with, you know, people from Joey's, from Earl's, from the Palomino or whatever, right? The industry itself is always really close and really tight. And in Vancouver, we had a Sunday Fun Day baseball league that was just restaurant people.
Yeah.
And every Sunday, all of the restaurants would face off against each other. We were called L Furniture Warehouse. That was a bar that I worked at, Peanut Bar. It was amazing. Great stomping grounds at the time. And fun industry bar where everyone always hung out. And hockey players, the Canucks, all included. So working at this place, we had a lot of really good ball players on our team, so we would win quite often. And then, so this one tournament came up, and it was Slow Pitch for a Wish. And it was for Make-A-Wish Foundation at the time. And it was put on by Red Truck Beer. And it was basically an industry tournament. And they raised like $200,000 a year because Red Truck would donate all of their beer. And all of this, the guy's name was Sean Hamilton that would run it. And he would put on this tournament every single year. Big party, raise a ton of money, great baseball, and we won it. And I'm like, this is unreal. Like, I want to be a part of this every single year. When I got the gig out here in Winnipeg, it just so happened that one of the guys that I used to play against out there had gotten a job in a different area. And he sent me a message. He's like, why don't we get this slow pitch tournament started here? I'm like, yeah, why don't we? I got the avenue to do it. Let's make this happen. So quickly, I sat in with the meeting with our management, and they loved the idea. They're like, let's do it. Let's pick, you want to do, I'm like, I want the cause to be the same as out in Vancouver. The only difference at the time was Children's Wish was local. Make-A-Wish was national. I wanted to make sure that the wishes stayed here in Manitoba.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we went with Children's Wish. They're now together. They're now merged as one.
Okay.
So that entity is just one. The dollars still do stay local. But I wanted to make this tournament bigger than what we could make it. And I wanted to launch it in a big way. So I pulled a couple favors from some country artists. And thankfully, Dallas Smith, namely, because he's probably the biggest Canadian country star, he was all on board immediately. And he helped launched the tournament.
Yeah.
And a lot of these other artists have as well. The local artists like Petrick have been, great friends of the entire tournament. We've had Doc Walker came out the first year, and there was so much fun. And so the idea was, let's do this tournament every single year, and we'll just play ball. Nobody wins money.
Yeah.
Just raise money. Mm-hmm. If you raise the most amount of money, you get to play against Dallas Smith in the ball game. They'll play in the celebrity game, and then they'll put on a country concert at night because our artists are amazing. Yeah. There's no other, and that's not to knock any other format at all, but we just have so many incredible Canadian country artists who are accessible.
We do, yeah.
And who want to do things and who want to help. And they do every single year. Like, the Washboard Union and Tim Hicks are back this year because they wanted to come back. I didn't go to them. They came to us.
Yeah.
Like, Tim Hicks sent me a text. I was my son was going down a slide at that time and at a park, and my phone goes off and I look at it. It's like, is that slow pitch tournament happening yet? I just joined a beer league and I want in. I was like, yeah.
That's amazing.
Awesome. Thanks, buddy. And so that's kind of how it's incorporated. It's actually become known in the country industry as one of the best tournaments to get to become a part of. And that's also because of our listeners and how involved they get with the artists too. It's a fun night for them, fun day for them. And it just gives more to this tournament because it's hard to put any of these things on now, especially post-pandemic. My gosh, it's hard to get people out as groups together. It really is. You're seeing tournament numbers go down. So how can we continue to bring in people? They're the artists bring the people in, and they help bring in that registration. If it wasn't for them, we'd have a great tournament, but we've been able to raise over $300,000 because
amazing.
of them and because of our teams.
Yeah.
Like, these people raise a ton of dough, and they want to make wishes come true, and they get a chance to meet some of the kids that make these wishes come true that for them, right? And their families. And it's just, the cause is great, the ball tournament is great, everything about it, and the artists are great. So everything about it is just so special to me.
So who's the artist for this lineup?
We have Dallas Smith, JoJo Mason, who, by the way, is one of the funniest and nicest men you could ever meet in your entire life. He's worth the price of admission alone, which, by the way, is $0. But if you'd like to make a donation, that's great.
$0.
I didn't think of it that way.
On record, JoJo Mason is worth $0.
Okay, you got to clip this and send it to him. He's gonna love it. But JoJo, Washboard Union, who were part of it before, and they're so much fun. The three of them ran the bases the same time last time. It was just like when Doc Walker brought out a case of beer out into the outfield. I'm like, Chris, man, like, you're playing ball. You got a case of and a lawn chair, and he sat in the field. But we got Kendra Kay, who's a great Manitoba talent, and she's just an up and coming. Like, she's just beginning, and I think her star is going to rise because she's very talented, heck of a ball player too. And she came out with the Petrick guys last year, who, like I said before, are a big part of it. They always do so much. But I'm really excited to see Sean Austin, who's buddies with Dallas, and Dallas is like, let's bring out my boy Sean Austin. And so Sean Austin's going to be there. All in all, it's just going to be a fantastic time.
Yeah, that's awesome. How can you register if you want to be a part of it?
Just go to the website, QX104 Slow Pitch for a Wish Tournament. It's there at QX104country.ca. It's a $500 deposit. Well, it's a $100 deposit. We expect you to raise $500. And so that doesn't mean you have to write a check for $500 to get your team in. You can crowdsource and get the funds online.
That's right.
People can donate online. We've had teams raise over $10,000.
That's insane.
So yeah, it's pretty unreal.
And can you come just as a spectator without a team?
Yeah, we used to have it when we had it at Bloomberg Park. We used to have it so that you did have to pay money to get in.
Yeah.
But it does require just so much more security and stuff. Like, there's a lot of other things there that we're like, you know what, if you want to come and just make a donation and be a part of the day some other way, that would be great.
Awesome. And when is the tournament this year?
September the 9th. It's a Saturday, which is the Banjo Bowl.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You landed on the Banjo Bowl.
Unfortunately, we did. It was just kind of the way that it worked this year. We didn't really have much of a choice. And, there's going to be a lot of people. We've heard from a lot of people who are actually going to the Banjo Bowl and then coming to the concert afterwards. Willie Jefferson. Yeah. So I'm hosting this event at Make-A-Wish. It was the gala downtown. And Willie Jefferson came along because his wife, Holly, so Winnipeg Blue Bomber, his wife, Holly, is big and, like, heavily involved with the Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Yeah.
And she is awesome. Like, she's just a very charitable woman, as is Willie. But we're just chatting with her about everything. All of a sudden, Willie goes like, what's this slow pitch tournament I keep hearing about? So I tell him about it. He's like, I want to put in a team. I'm like, it's the Banjo Bowl. He's like, that's fine. Can I play in the morning? I'm like, no,
That's fine.
I'm like,
that's
are you kidding me? Wade Miller's going to be calling me. I'm going like, dude, you got my Gugs better not be playing ball in the morning. But Willie's like, maybe there's some other way that we can get involved. Yeah. So I'm in talks with, because the Bombers have been so great when it comes to the slow pitch tournament. A lot of their staff get involved. They donate a ton of stuff. They've actually done a lot for us with the slow pitch tournament. I feel bad that we're putting on Banjo Bowl Day. We just didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
And when it comes in line of going, okay, make sure that relationship with the Bombers is good or help make wishes come true.
Yeah.
I'm going to choose those wishes come true. And I know the Bombers will understand. But I know that Willie wants to get involved some other way. So we're looking into something. We got a few ideas up our sleeves and we might have something down the road.
Awesome.
Can you imagine him hitting a ball?
That would be insane.
Like he's like, and he's like, oh, okay, so here's who I want. I want to get Jamarcus Hardrick. I'm like, oh my gosh, this team's going to be massive. He's like, I want Brady Oliveira, and I want Nick Dembski. So he's lining up his entire team. I'm like, these guys are going to crush baseballs.
Yeah.
Like ridiculous.
You're going to have a couple celebrity teams. That's insane.
Yeah.
Well, you genuinely sound like you love doing what you're doing. You also talked like this is your happy place when you can kind of do it and get here, put a smile on your face. Has there ever been a time since you started to now where you just didn't want to do it anymore? Where you thought that maybe this wasn't the route for you?
No, not in this industry. You get gassed.
Yeah.
You do totally get gassed. And there was a couple moments, you hit some dark spots during the pandemic. I did. I know. I saw that meme that was just like, make sure to check on your extroverts. During this time, introverts are loving it. Extroverts are having a rough time. I was having a rough time, and I had a couple spots where it's just like, okay, this is a lot. And even when Jess was no longer with us, that was probably one of the darkest times that I had as well, because it was unexpected, and it kind of came at me, and it was like, I don't like how this industry works sometimes.
Yeah.
But all in all, like the industry itself, it's unstable, but that's kind of one of the fun parts of it. You never know what to expect on any given day. Mm-hmm. And when you get to, blessed to work in an industry that is different all the time, you never get bored. You don't get tired.
Yeah.
There will be a moment, I know, probably where I'm just like, I don't think I want to do this anymore, and I'll be done. I'll be out. I'll find something else to do.
For sure.
But until then, I've always said that if I'm not passionate about something, I'm going to walk away.
Yeah.
So I've never had that moment where I've been like, no, I can't do radio anymore. I'm done. Never had that. I've had tough days, just like everybody else has. And you got good friends for that and good family for that can help you through those.
Right on. If Brody Jackson wins $100 million tomorrow, are you still doing this or a form of this?
No, I'm doing it. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm not stopping. I might not work mornings.
Yeah. I don't
do middays. I can sleep in. No, I'm still doing it. I might do it in a different avenue. I might do it in a different area. But yeah, I've always known that this is something I love to do. If I can put a smile on somebody's face, if I can, change how you're feeling that day. Mm-hmm. Like if you're feeling the absolute craps and I can put one smile on your face, I've done my job and I'm satisfied. $100 million isn't going to make me as happy as that does. It's I swear to God, it's honest.
Yeah.
To be able to change somebody's mindset from being down to being up is an ability everybody should wish that they could have or should try and have. Mm-hmm. Because if you can change somebody else's mindset, if you can change one person, that one person can change theirs, and so on and so on. Think of how many positive people we'd have in this world and how good this world would be.
100%.
Right? So $100 million, I mean, yeah, I'll take it. But I'll never change what I do. No.
It's a very on-brand answer, I think.
But it's true. It's a part of my personality.
That's perfect, man. That's perfect. What's your best moment on the job? Has it been seeing Wayne Gretzky chatting with Timu on the bench?
That was unreal, man. Oh, man. Like, that was probably one of the coolest moments. When it comes to working with the Jets, that was awesome. Just in the fact of I was standing on the bench, Dale Howardchick's to my left, Timu Solani's to my right. I'm like, this is unreal. I don't know if you ever heard that audio clip. That was the one where Timu had gotten the key to the city.
Yeah.
And we're sitting there off camera, and this is beforehand. And I look at him and I said, I'm like, so what are you going to do with that key? And Ducky says, he's like, probably going to take it to the pal. I'm like, you have to answer with that Timu. And he's like, okay. And that's exactly what he answered with. And it was amazing. The whole crowd is laughing. Everyone's loving it. I'm like, that was pretty awesome. Like, that was a pretty surreal moment. The Jets have offered offered me up a lot of those opportunities to have some really, really cool, unique moments. Those cancer care nights are just so powerful. If you think of all those little kids that step out on the ice who've had these battles that I've never had to face, and I hope that nobody would ever have to, and you see how strong they are. What an inspiration, hey? Like, when you're seeing, these grown men and women just shedding tears, 15,000 of them because of these kids, that's so powerful. There's something special about that in sport. Probably when Crappie, when he made his return back, and if people aren't aware of Crappie, he was like the biggest fan out there and a legendary vet who would come in and travel every single home game from Ontario.
He was incredible.
Every game.
Yeah.
Every game. And we did this thing. We got into this game. And I know that this was they did a Jets segment on it in one of the first periods, but it was the fan versus fan with Crappie. So we had this competition where we put up on camera one fan, and then you put up on the camera another fan, then you pit them against each other as to which was the best fan, and the crowd would make noise for both of them.
Yeah.
So I walked up to Crappie, and this was the first game he had come back after missing a while because of his health. And I said, we're going to do something for you coming up here shortly. Are you okay to be on camera? He said, oh, okay. He never cared to do any of that stuff, but he's like, okay. And I was like, okay, awesome. And Kyle's like, okay, so this is what I think we should do. I'm going to put him on fan. I'm like, you got to do them both. Have him put him against him. Because if you put him against him...
I remember this.
Well, if you put him against somebody else, that other person's not going to stand a chance. Yeah. And they're going to feel like, oh, this is awkward. I said, if you put Crappie versus Crappie, let's give him that entire minute.
Yeah.
That's his minute, and the crowd can live it with him. And so we get to that point where I'm like, you're going to be on camera. He's like, okay. He had no idea what to expect. So I'm standing to the left of him about a section and a half over, and he's standing there on the wheelchair ramp. And I was like, all right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Fan versus Fan, brought to you by Giant Tiger. And I'm like, here's fan number one.
Yeah.
And it's Crappie. And the crowd starts cheering. And now it's time to meet fan number two. Different camera angle, Crappie.
Yeah.
And everyone lost it. And I'm like, make some noise for your favorite fan. And the place is standing up and they're applauding. Ottawa Senators are standing up because they're a competing team at the time. They're all banging their sticks. You got some of the Jets saluting Crappie up on the top. And he stood there and he had tears coming down. Oh, man. Chokes me up every time.
Yeah.
He had tears coming down his eyes. And he's just like, wow. And I finished it. I barely get through the read. By the end of it, I was done. I was like, I'd turn off my mic, and I walked right over to Crappie and just gave him a big hug. And he's like, thank you. Thank you. And I'm like, did you see the Senators? He's like, I saw the Senators were standing up. I'm like, everybody in that rink, right? Yeah. Like, these are such cool moments that sports can bring you. So on the Jets side of that, those will probably always be a highlight for me, for sure.
Incredible. I remember seeing that, and I remember crying watching that one.
Oh,
too, so.
And every time when they put it on the Jets' first intermission, I'm like, no warning. I'm going to be a puddle here again watching the home game or watching the away game at home. I'm going to be a puddle. There's some really cool moments there for sure.
Oh, man. Buddy, I think this was a great conversation.
Yeah, I'm happy to do it.
I think that's a great way to end.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I think this is a good spot to go out with tears in our eyes.
This is a Crappie fan versus fan.
I think the only thing I want to ask you is you've done so much and you've been able to open so many opportunities. Do you have like a bucket list item thing that you have on your radar in terms of career goals that you want to hit?
No, I've done it all.
No, really?
Like I don't.
How can you top some of these moments?
My aspirations, because I originally got into radio. I was like, I want to be like Ryan Seacrest.
Yeah.
That was my goal. Man, can family change that?
Yeah.
But that was my goal. I want to be the biggest radio thing. How do I do it? What is the path that I need to take to get there? Now I don't care about any of that, and I probably didn't within the first couple of years of being in Winnipeg. I love this city. I love this province. It's my home. I can't leave.
Yeah.
I've had plenty of opportunities, not taking them. And this is if I can do this until I go to rest, I'm in. I've done everything that I want to do in this. I just want to keep doing it. And I want to keep making people smile. And I want to keep helping change lives in any which way that I can. And I want to just keep doing what I can to make Winnipeg a little bit better one day at a time. And that's going to be my goal forever.
Beautiful.
Yeah, man.
Thank you very much, man. Thanks for all you do, and thanks for being on the show. I appreciate it.
Justin, thanks for doing this, man. I wish you nothing but the best with this podcast.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
And thanks to the Silver Heights Restaurant and Lounge here for hosting us.
First time I've been here, and I haven't had a shot of Jack Daniels.
Yeah, well, let's change that. All right. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Take it easy.